Did you know that 85% of a leader's success can be linked to effective communication? That's right. It's not just about what you know, but how you share it. Yet, here's the shocking part. Over 70% of leaders say they struggle with communication. That's a huge gap. Think about this. Research shows that the best leaders aren't necessarily the smartest or the most experienced. They're the ones who know how to communicate in a way that inspires, motivates, and connects. And the good news? These skills aren't just for natural-born leaders, they can be learned. In this video, we're diving into 9 game-changing communication habits that separate good leaders from great ones. We'll reveal why strategic silence can be more powerful than words, how crafting a simple story can make your message 22 times more memorable, and what top CEOs do to connect with their teams on a deeper level. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of strategies that will transform how you lead. Ready to unlock the hidden power of leadership communication? Let's get started. Chapter 1. The power of strategic silence. Have you ever noticed how some leaders seem to command a room without saying much? That's the magic of strategic silence. It's not just about pausing, it's about using silence as a tool. Studies show that well-timed pauses can make your message 40% more memorable. Think about it. When you pause, you create anticipation. People lean in, waiting for your next words. This is especially powerful in negotiations. According to the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, silence can make the other party reveal more information. Voss, a former FBI negotiator, used this tactic to get crucial insights during high-stakes situations. But it's not just about getting information. Silence also shows confidence. When you're not in a rush to speak, it signals that you're in control. It gives you time to think and choose your words carefully. This is a trait shared by leaders like Warren Buffett, who is known for his thoughtful pauses during interviews. Strategic silence also helps in diffusing tense situations. Imagine a heated discussion. Instead of jumping in, pause. That moment of quiet can calm the room and allow for cooler heads to prevail. In essence, silence is more than the absence of sound. It's a powerful communication tool that can elevate your leadership presence. So, next time you're in a meeting or a tough conversation, remember, sometimes, saying nothing speaks volumes. Chapter 2. Narrative Mastery. Crafting stories that stick. We all love a good story. It's in our DNA. But did you know that stories are 22 times more memorable than facts alone? That's why narrative mastery is a key skill for leaders. It's not just about telling any story, it's about crafting ones that resonate and stick. Let's talk about Steve Jobs. He was a master storyteller. When he introduced the iPhone, he didn't just list features. He told a story about how it would change our lives. And it did. His stories weren't just about products, they were about the people who used them. That's what made them powerful. But why are stories so effective? Science gives us the answer. When we hear a story, our brains release oxytocin, often called the trust hormone. This chemical reaction makes us more empathetic and engaged. That's why stories can inspire action. Another example is the late Nelson Mandela. He often used stories from his own life to connect with people. By sharing his struggles and victories, he built a bridge of understanding with his audience. To craft a story that sticks, start with a relatable problem. Then, introduce a solution that brings hope or a new perspective. Make sure your story has a clear message. Keep it simple, and don't be afraid to show vulnerability. Authenticity makes stories more relatable. Remember, your story doesn't have to be long. In fact, shorter stories are often more impactful. The key is to be clear and to the point. So, whether you're giving a presentation or just having a chat with your team, use stories to make your message unforgettable. Chapter 3. The Listening Edge. Beyond active listening. We've all heard about active listening, but let's take it a step further. Successful leaders use what I call the listening edge. This goes beyond just nodding and summarizing. It's about truly understanding and responding to what's not being said. Research from Harvard Business Review found that leaders who are good listeners generate more trust and respect from their teams. But here's the twist. The best listeners do more than just listen. They ask questions that push the conversation deeper. This technique is known as reflective listening. It's about reflecting back what you hear, but with a twist, adding your insights or observations. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. She's known for her ability to get people to open up. It's not just because she listens, but because she listens between the lines. She picks up on emotions, body language, and pauses. Then she asks the right questions that lead to breakthroughs. The listening edge also involves being fully present. This means putting away distractions, like your phone or laptop, and focusing entirely on the person speaking. It sounds simple, but in today's multitasking world, it's rare. Yet, it's incredibly powerful. When people feel truly heard, they're more likely to trust and follow you. Another part of the listening edge is being aware of your own biases. We all have them, but great leaders recognize theirs and make a conscious effort to listen without judgment. This creates a safe space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas. In short, the listening edge is about more than just hearing words. It's about understanding the full message, both spoken and unspoken. By mastering this skill, you can build stronger, more trusting relationships with your team and lead more effectively. If you're finding this video useful, subscribe and let's get back to the exciting stuff. Chapter 4. Empathy Engineering. Building genuine connections. Empathy is often talked about, but rarely mastered. Yet, it's the cornerstone of effective leadership. Empathy engineering goes beyond just understanding how someone feels. It's about using that understanding to build genuine connections that drive collaboration and trust. According to research by the Center for Creative Leadership, leaders who show empathy toward their employees are viewed as better performers by their bosses. But how do you engineer empathy? Start by practicing what Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, calls empathic listening. This means focusing not just on the words, but on the emotions behind them. Take Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, as an example. When he took over the company, one of his first moves was to foster a culture of empathy. He encouraged his team to think about the end user, to put themselves in the customer's shoes. This shift led to greater innovation and collaboration within Microsoft. One powerful strategy is to ask open-ended questions that allow the other person to share their feelings and experiences. For example, instead of asking, "Did you have a good day?" ask, "What was the most challenging part of your day?" This invites deeper conversations and shows that you care about more than just surface-level details. Another key aspect of empathy engineering is validating others' emotions. When someone shares their struggles or frustrations, acknowledge them before offering solutions. Sometimes, people just want to feel understood, not fixed. This validation strengthens the connection and builds trust. Empathy also involves being vulnerable yourself. Leaders like Brené Brown, who wrote Dare to Lead, emphasize that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a path to building authentic relationships. By sharing your own challenges, you invite others to do the same, creating a culture of openness. In essence, empathy engineering is about more than just feeling for others. It's about acting in ways that make others feel valued and understood. When you do this, you create an environment where people feel safe to share ideas, take risks, and grow. Chapter 5. Precision Persuasion. The science of subtle influence. When we think of persuasion, we often picture grand speeches or forceful arguments. But the most effective leaders use precision persuasion, a subtle, calculated approach that influences without overpowering. Research from Carnegie Mellon University shows that people are more likely to be persuaded by someone who uses precise, clear language. So, instead of making vague statements, focus on specifics. For example, instead of saying, "We should improve this process," say, "By reducing the steps from 5 to 3, we can cut production time by 20%. This kind of precise language makes your argument stronger and harder to dispute. One key technique in precision persuasion is the use of reciprocity. It's a psychological principle that suggests people feel obligated to return favors. Robert Cialdini, in his book Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, explains how this works. If you do something for someone, they're more likely to agree with you or help you in return. Think about it in a business setting. If you offer to assist a colleague with a project, they'll be more inclined to support your ideas in a meeting. This isn't manipulation, it's about creating mutual benefit. Another strategy is what Cialdini calls framing. The way you present information can dramatically affect how it's received. For instance, if you want to propose a change, frame it in a way that highlights the benefits rather than the risks. Say, this new approach could increase our revenue by 15%, instead of, this might be risky but worth a try. Using social proof is another powerful tool in precision persuasion. People tend to follow the crowd, especially in uncertain situations. By showing that others, especially respected peers, are on board with your idea, you can sway opinions. This is why testimonials and case studies are so effective in marketing. Lastly, precision persuasion involves timing. Knowing when to make your pitch is crucial. Studies show that people are more receptive to new ideas at the beginning of the day or right after lunch, when energy levels are higher. So, time your important conversations wisely. In conclusion, precision persuasion is about using subtle, strategic techniques to influence others without them even realizing it. By focusing on specifics, using reciprocity, framing your arguments, and leveraging social proof, you can become a more effective leader who drives change with ease. Chapter 6. Feedback fusion. Turning criticism into growth. Feedback can be tricky. It's often uncomfortable to give, and even harder to receive. But what if you could turn feedback into a powerful tool for growth? That's what feedback fusion is all about. It's the art of blending constructive criticism with encouragement to inspire real improvement. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that 72% of employees believe their performance would improve if their managers provided corrective feedback. But here's the catch. How you deliver that feedback makes all the difference. If done wrong, it can demotivate and disengage. But if done right, it can ignite a spark of growth. One strategy is the feedback sandwich. You've probably heard of it. Start with positive feedback, insert the constructive criticism, and then close with more positive remarks. While this method is popular, experts like Kim Scott, author of Radical Candor, argue for a more direct approach. She suggests being clear and honest, but also caring personally. In her words, it's not mean to be clear, it's mean to be unclear. Another powerful technique is to make feedback a two-way street. Instead of just giving feedback, ask for it as well. This not only shows that you're open to growth but also encourages others to take feedback seriously. According to a Gallup study, employees who feel their opinions count at work are 4.6 times more likely to feel empowered to perform their best. When delivering feedback, focus on specific behaviors, not the person. For instance, instead of saying, "You're always late," say, "I noticed that you've been arriving late to meetings this week. Is everything okay?" This makes the conversation less personal and more about finding a solution. Timing is also key in feedback fusion. Don't wait for annual reviews to give feedback. The Center for Creative Leadership recommends giving feedback as close to the event as possible. This makes the feedback more relevant and actionable. Lastly, don't forget to celebrate progress. When someone makes improvements based on your feedback, acknowledge it. This not only reinforces positive behavior but also builds confidence. Remember, the goal of feedback fusion is not just to point out flaws but to guide others toward growth and success. Chapter 7. The Visionary Voice. Communicating with clarity and impact. Every great leader has a vision. But what sets the best apart is their ability to communicate that vision with clarity and impact. This is what I call the visionary voice. It's not just about having a vision, it's about making others see it, believe in it, and act on it. Clarity is the foundation of the visionary voice. A survey by Gallup found that only 22% of employees strongly agree that their leaders have a clear direction. That's a problem. If your team doesn't understand the vision, how can they work toward it? To achieve clarity, simplify your message. Steve Jobs once said, "Simple can be harder than complex." You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. This means stripping away the jargon and getting to the heart of the matter. Another key element is repetition. Research shows that people need to hear a message at least 7 times before it sinks in. So, don't be afraid to repeat your vision in different ways. This ensures that everyone on your team is aligned and moving in the same direction. But clarity alone isn't enough. To truly inspire, you need to connect emotionally with your audience. According to Simon Sinek, author of Start With Why, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This means sharing the deeper purpose behind your vision. Why does it matter? How will it impact others? When you communicate the why, you tap into emotions, which drives action. Storytelling also plays a crucial role in the visionary voice. As we discussed earlier, stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. Use stories to illustrate your vision. Share examples of how it will change lives, solve problems, or create opportunities. This makes your vision more relatable and compelling. Join our journey by subscribing to the channel and never miss out on our latest uploads.